Well, we've come to the conclusion of these episodes of the podcast
Oh
promoting
no! Oh no!
what?
Conclusion.
Oh, you had me shocked that we had something, a glitch or something, Mike Capps.
Dude,
The
I am
conclusion.
a walking glitch.
That's the story of our lives these days.
There's no question about that.
This has been fun. This has been a lot of fun. You have, because of association with you, been able to meet some guys we've all heard of, some not, but you now know. And those are the guys who really laid or continue to lay the foundation for the great game of baseball, and are those who fall under the umbrella of what you call the grinders.
Yep.
It's been a fun little journey with these episodes.
Well, it's been a fun journey for the last 4 years writing this book, and the wonderful people that really weighed in on it all the way back to my late grandfather when I was 9 years old, and that story's in the book. But showed me the game of baseball. I mean, he started me when I was 4, swinging a bat, and then my dad and mom picked up on it. But that my grandfather was there all the way until his death when I was 33 years old, and it was always baseball with us. Always baseball. We didn't always agree on politics or anything else, but baseball made it happen for us. And um, grinders are the guys that really make this game what it is. Everybody's got one or two or three superstars, but I heard it said many years ago, and I believe it. If my grinders can't beat your grinders, we ain't going to win. And that's, I think, proof positive when you look at the ranks of baseball year in and year out. So much to do is made about um every superstar in baseball. Books written, articles done, but just like in the army, it's the foot soldier that wins the battle. These are baseball's foot soldiers, which is why we call them the intrepid infantry. And the stories they tell are just in freaking credible.
I don't, and I know you and I are part of the minority of people who just absolutely have passion, love, and respect for the game.
Right.
Would you say it's safe to say that not only are you telling the stories about these men who just battled obstacle after obstacle, overcame some adversity along the way, it's not only the story of life being the great game of baseball, but you're also trying to reach a younger audience to reinvigorate their love or introduce them to what is to be passionate about baseball.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And the bottom line is, um, you may not be the biggest, you may not be the fastest, you may not have power, you may not have any one of a number of tools it takes to be a baseball player, but you can still play this game and play
Yeah.
it well and make a living at it. By the way, if you're willing to grind it out. Now, I'm not, it's not for everyone. A lot of people don't want to put in the time and effort. But I've said this before. I've said it at speeches. I said it at a Sabre meeting in Houston the other night. If you fit the grinders role in life so many times, and baseball just is simply a translation of it. And what I'm talking about is, let's just say that you're a single parent and you have two or three kids and two or three jobs, and you're trying to pay the bills. Ladies and gentlemen, you're a grinder. There's no question around. If you are uh, not at the CEO level, but you love your job like you love your life, and you're willing to trade 40 hours for 60 hours, several weeks to help the company, you're a grinder. If you're a small business owner and the federal government and the tax people and the this and the that and the regulatory fed and on and yak, 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 and you have to put up with that and you're still successful and you still love it and you give anything to be a better business owner, then you're a grinder. In a certain sense, any of us who have succeeded without having uh, top of the line talent are grinders. It just happens. It just is what it is. And I think it's incumbent, and we tried to teach our four kids that you just sometimes you have to grind through things, and you may be disappointed. You may not be who you thought you would be, but if you're willing to grind, you can still have a piece of that life you wanted. And it's been proven fact time and again. But it's just so easy to see in baseball. And it wasn't an easy book to write because there's so many profiles, and it took a lot of time. But the energy and time it took, certainly worth the effort for the feedback we have from really seasoned baseball people and people in the educational industry and folks like that who really understand what a grind is.
Well, now we've reached the point to which the goal, that destiny, that desired date. What's on your itinerary now that we have reached, where not only the end of this podcast series, but publishing time? What's your itinerary look like?
Well,
What do you anticipate?
well, we've already had a ton of people ask us about it when it's going to come out. So it's incumbent upon us, especially me, the author, and Lauren Steffi, the publisher down in Wimberley, to make sure we have all the promotional bases covered. I'm going to do a lot of talking about it on my radio broadcast for the Round Rock Express all year. Um, each ballpark we go into, we're gonna try to talk our counterparts into at least having copies on sale, and do as much internet work in terms of social media and getting the word out. Try to be on as many radio talk shows as we can get. Many times they don't want book authors anymore because, well, you have to do a little homework with that. So, um, and that's people do. It's a different life now on that in that media in that medium, and it is what it is. But we'll try to make as many appearances as we can. We really want to do book signings, especially in the Austin area, and when we can, when we're out in the country, because our season takes us as far west as Tacoma, Salt Lake City,
Yeah.
Albuquerque, Sugarland, Oklahoma City. Some really great baseball towns,
Mhm.
Reno, Sacramento, and great baseball fans. So we get the word out through the western side of AAA baseball, and then we're counting on some of our counterparts on the eastern side of AAA baseball and Major League Baseball as well. And so that'll be the marketing strategy as it is, but it's there's so much of it that I'm already starting to hear from a lot of guys who not only wrote liners for the book, but are hearing about it now, and what can I do to help you, and this sort of thing. And that's always good.
Yeah, and that's and we partnered up. I'm the host of a podcast based out of Austin, Texas, called Stories Inside the Man Cave Podcast, and I've known Cappy for the better part of a decade now. And I knew about him when I mentioned in episode 1, or even when he made an appearance on one of my episodes when I was in Oklahoma City. And the Express would visit OKC, knew about him. And now we're partnering up, and that's why we did this and divided it into several parts. I mean, you've got to meet well over 8 people in this, tied to the great game of baseball, including Lauren, the publisher in Wimberley, Texas.
Tal Smith, the former Astros president.
Woo, great individuals. I mean, esteemed individuals who have some tremendous stories. I mean, if you were to pick anybody out who has ties to baseball, even the guy that you never see or hear about in the media or in anything, any type of periodical, they have a story. And that's what my interpretation of this is. You're telling those stories that are much greater than what we hear of those big blockbuster names.
Yeah. Well, when you break it all down, and you have a first round draft pick who made a lot of money in a bonus, it took him 14 years to get the big leagues. and he only had, I think, a total of like 14 games total. But he stuck with it and stuck with it. That's a story.
Yeah.
And he's now the hitting coach for the Cincinnati Reds. His name is Alan Zenner. And if Cincinnati Reds fans know him, maybe a few Astros fans know him, but he played for the Round Rock Express briefly, and we got to know him that way. And it just was a tremendous story. Chris Jimenez, another catcher who came through here, is just such a tremendous story. Not only was he an outstanding backup catcher, but he was called to a role as a relief pitcher several times. And the stories he tells about that are in the book, and they're crazy good. And he's crazy, and I love him to death. And now he's on XM satellite radio as a host on some of the talk shows, and he's outstanding at that. Just look around. Travis Driscoll, you went to high school with at Anderson High School. He's in this book, and he's in this book because not only did he pitch at Anderson High School, not only did he pitch at Blinn Junior College, not only did he pitch at Texas Tech, but he pitched all over the major leagues with 3 different teams, and he pitched in Japan. We have a whole section on grinders who didn't quite make it to Major League Baseball, but went to Japan and made decent money because they were willing to go and try something different and succeed. And boy, when they got there, 90% of them were treated as heroes.
Rock star treatment.
Star. The same in Korea with some of the guys who came through. And you look around, and the Jackie Moores of the world that managed the Round Rock Express and managed in the big leagues and was a bench coach for the Cincinnati Reds in 1990 on the world champion Cincinnati Reds, was a bench coach for Donnie Baylor in Colorado, and just a tremendous baseball mind. The great Jack McKeon we profile at 72 became the oldest manager for the Florida Marlins. They were called the Florida Marlins in those days, to manage a World Series team. I mean, and his story is like the roadmap of the U.S. He's been so many places. How many? Let's just ask you this question, and you'll have a good answer for this. 3 different times he went to spring train, minor league spring training with 3 different organizations, and been promised jobs. He gets there, and there's no job.
I didn't know that.
Would you have hung with it? Most people would not have hung with it.
No, most people, I'd say 80-90% would have quit.
Jack McKeon is now 91 years old, and he is a special assistant to the general manager of the Washington Nationals.
He's made for it. He's built for it, as they say.
Of course he's built for it.
Never smoked a pack of cigarettes in his life.
Kevin Millar.
Yes, that's a great example.
Went to Lamar University's California guy, recruited. Rangers were going to sign him. No, they don't. So he goes the independent route, gets picked off by the Marlins. Next thing you know, he's playing the World Series for the Red Sox and a big time contributor. And now you see him on television, on MLB with Intentional Talk, and as nice a guy, a kid as you'll ever meet. I mean, and the guy who is the co-author of this book is no longer with us, Chuck Hartenstein, and we would be remiss if we didn't mention him. Came out of the University of Texas. He had promised Bibb Falk he was going to stay the whole 4 years, had an offer. This is before the draft was instituted in 1965. Had promised Bibb Falk he'd stay there the whole 4 years. The Phillies wanted him for really, really good money in those years. He said, nope, I'm going to do it. I promised Bibb. And he had to scramble to find a job. And that's when he got on my radar, because my cousin Billy signed him. And he ended up pitching for 4 different major league teams and became a major league pitching coach. And unfortunately, on the last day of the Round Rock Express season in October of 21, I got a text from his son, and Chuck had passed away. But the honor of this book goes to Chuck Hartenstein, because we sat on his couch and devised how it should go. And any of the books we do on grinders, Chuck's going to be the co-author, just simply because you keep the Chuck Hartenstein name alive, because he was the grinder.
Well said. And I think that encapsulates all this, and it just revisiting history. I
Yeah.
think you have done a phenomenal job with this, and I want to thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure
Oh, this is
to
fun.
not just co-host this with you, but to hear the stories and to take a peek into your past
Oh,
and your journey. And Mike, I appreciate it. I really do.
John, it's all my pleasure. No question about it. No question.
So, for the final time of this podcast series, I don't think this will be the final series for some reason with Mike Capps, and hopefully I get an invitation. We'll work together and coordinate and
Well, we may need some additional
collaborate.
publicity on down the road, so let's don't shut the.
Oh yeah, no, we're not shutting the door just on this series. And check out my social media as well, and it's right here on Twitter. It's a good place to find me at Sean C_ATX, and then the stories inside the Man Cave podcast social media platforms as well. There you will see the grinder stories as well.
Yeah.
We're coexisting.
We
on those.
probably, it would probably serve us very well to come to some kind of an agreement to run a name or two out there about every 2 or 3 weeks, just to say, you ever wondered about what happened to, or did you know that such and such did such and such, and jump on it that way.
I like that idea. A little brief 30 to 45-second piece tweeted out with the Grinders logo. So
Once all of it, once the design people give us something to work with that way, that's when we can really make that sing, I think.
this is only the beginning, my friend.
I think so.
I'm very happy for you, very proud for you.
Well, there came a day of reckoning when I had to get away from the news business, and I did it. And for me, it's a blessing from God to get to do this. There's no question about it.
But to the media, it helped pivot us both into where we are.
No question. No question.
For Cappy, Shawn Clynch, we'll see you soon, and follow Cappy's journey with Grinders, Baseball's Intrepid Infantry, and buy a copy or 4 or a dozen. Great Christmas gifts, by the way.
Yeah, no question.
We are out.